All right, welcome back. So we're jumping here back into Hickman's Aliens vs. Avengers with issue number 4. And in this issue, this is where we finally find out what Mr. Sinister's plan was all along. But in addition to that, we also get to understand what happened to the Wakandan Empire that led up until this point. And then there was one secret that Tony Stark cooked up right before his death. Now, if we remember here from the last time, we saw the rest of the Avengers land on planet Mars, where they thought that they were going to be meeting with the remnants of the X-Men. But instead, they saw Mr. Sinister standing there with a bunch of Xenomorphs that weren't attacking him. Now, unfortunately, the Xenomorphs quickly overwhelmed the Avengers until reinforcements came in, a group including Wolverine, Emma Frost, Manifold, and Armor, and they were able to save Captain Marvel. Miles Morales was able to get away, but Tony Stark, he was gutted by a Xenomorph. And just when things were about to potentially get even worse, here comes, just in time, the King of Wakanda. Now, when we first pick up on things here in this issue, we go over to Bar Sinister here, where we pick up on Mr. Sinister, who is currently beckoning the Xenomorphs to come closer and closer to him. And he says to himself, it is time. But time for what exactly? And then he explains, he was a man, and then he became a mutant. So many special strands of mutant DNA in this body. And now I am becoming something more. I am becoming. And right in this moment, as he's being lifted up here by the Xenomorphs, we finally see what Mr. Sinister had been cooking up this entire time. A red Xenomorph head breaks through this man's chest. And what Sinister has been doing is that he created a queen Xenomorph, which now explains why the other Xenomorphs had not killed him before, and that they were actually following him in the first place, because they knew that a queen was growing inside of him. Now, as we come over here to the next day, the other Sinister clones are beginning to prepare for the next phase of the plan, something called the coronation. Now, you see here, the other Sinisters also had queens growing inside of them. But this is where the plan begins to shift. Or was this a part of the plan the entire time? Because right here, the first queen takes out one of the Sinisters, and another one of the Sinister looks on and says, oh shoot, decisive, a bit harsh, but not out of a line, I suppose. While another one says, but you wouldn't dare paint us all with the same brush, would ya? Well, homeboy was wrong, because the rest of the Xenomorph clan begins to take out all of the remaining Sinisters, because you see, there can only be one queen. Now, in this next moment here, we get to understand what happened to the Wakandan nation as we go to a little bit of a flashback here. And they start off by saying, it seemed as if the universe favored Wakanda. The sons and daughters of that secret Terran country became the first star-faring humans, the product of a space program that no one knew existed until it appeared, fully realized and ascendant. Surprise was always the Wakandan way. No one expected them to settle in a fertile, unclaimed arm of a spiral galaxy that kissed the edge of a dying nebula. No one imagined that their atemporal generation ships would spawn a sprawling galactic empire. And yet, it did. T'Chaka's Reach boasted a manufacturing ring world that was the beating heart of Wakandan expansion. Celestial farms spawned supernovas that produced all the necessary elements for imperial growth. Hydrogen, iron, palladium, vibranium, all super abundant and critical to the Stargate construction and system expansion. They were corridors between worlds that eliminated the need for interstellar travel, providing the optimal conditions for Wakandan society to thrive across solar systems. Stargates were the linchpin of Wakandan life. But then, they were also the key to the Wakandans' death. You see, because the Empire's interconnectedness meant that a single seed world could easily infect and spread the Xenomorph plague across the entirety of Wakandan space. One world became two, and then two became four. Four brought on the fall of the Empire. At its height, there were 57 worlds and countless outposts in the Wakandan space empire. But by the time Emperor T'Challa returned to his kingdom, only 2 worlds had not completely fallen to the infection. And on both of those, a dying war raged against the alien spawn. The Emperor had made his return. Blades were drawn. The good fight engaged. And an unwinnable war began and ended. But not in a wave of wailing parasites. Instead, the end of Wakanda was engineered. They had been busy in this new universe cleansing it. Microscopic black holes that lasted for only picoseconds. Just long enough to erase an infected world from existence. The godlike race of engineers had done godlike things. Erasing worlds, entire cultures from this universe in an attempt to erase their first sin, life from all reality. T'Challa learned the truth at the end of his sword, which was shown to us here back in issue number 1. He learned their lesson, for they had taught it well. Save what you can, but then burn the rest. So after all of this, we return here back to the present day, where we had seen that the Wakandans had made it to Mars to save the remaining Avengers, with a dead Tony Stark here in the background. Now when T'Challa drops down, he sighs and says, "More dark news for the darkest times." And he makes his way over to Tony. He closes his eyes and he says, "May you finally find peace." So Captain Marvel asks a question. She's like, "And the Empire?" And T'Challa's like, "Fallen. The same fate as every other victim of this insanity." And he lets them know what he found out, that the creator and the creation, that they were driven to destroy each other, trapped in a mad dance that extends beyond one universe. And as it has no clear winner, could extend to all that there is. So Wolverine wants to know, he's like, "Do you have any idea of how to deal with something like that?" And T'Challa's like, "Let me clear my throat." And it's like, isn't it obvious? We have to. But before he could even finish that sentence, one of the members of the Atut Saraze says to him, "My lord, motion. We have multiple contacts, many contacts." And when we look to see what it is, we see Xenomorphs crawling all over the place with the queen right in the middle. So T'Challa, with no remorse, is like, "Fire." So they do. So Azari says to him, he's like, "Yo, we're out in the open right now and there's a sea of them. We should move to the ship, nuke the entire site from orbit." But then Wolverine pauses. He's like, "Hold on for a second," because he realizes that the big red one has a symbol right on his forehead, the symbol of Mr. Sinister. So that Emma Frost, she suits up. She's like, "Indeed it is. And honestly, I just couldn't live with myself if I ran from that." So in that moment, Wolverine's like, "Can you cover us? We're gonna take out the queen. Emma's diamond form is impervious to harm, and nothing can pierce armor's shields." To which T'Challa asks, he's like, "What about you though, Wolvie?" And he's like, "I'll find a way." So the Black Panther, he calls out his orders, while Wolverine tells Manifold, he's like, "Listen, drop us right on top of Mr. Sinister." But then here's the thing. When Wolverine and the clan, they jump down, what happens? The Red Queen goes bang. And this is where they realize that, oh shoot, this dude must have spliced other mutants' abilities into his DNA, because remember, we did see that over at Bar Sinister here up on his wall, we saw all these face huggers on all these different mutants. So Wolverine spots where he's teleported to, and then it's like, I'm going after him. Not of course before taking out some Xenomorphs along the way. And then when he gets over there again, once again, Mr. Sinister goes, poof, and he's out. And I'm not gonna lie to you, see this question mark here right above Wolverine's head? Had me dying. But then right here in this next moment, things go bad, because what happens is that the Red Queen, Sinister, bamps right inside of Armor's armor. And you know what he does next, and completely takes out Isako. So she's done and Armor is done. Meanwhile, Wolverine is looking like he's in a bad state right now. The rest of the team here, they're starting to get overwhelmed. There's too many of them. So it's in this moment here where T'Challa's like, they failed and we won't hold here for long. My son was right. We have to go, Carol. But she's like, no, I shouldn't have run the first time and I'm not running anymore. So it's in this moment where she ascends into the sky and she's like, do what you can here for your people and for whoever else makes it. And one more thing, cover your eyes. So she goes binary and does the best that she possibly can. And it looks like she takes out a good amount of Xenomorphs in the process. But here's the thing, when the question is asked, did it work? The only thing that T'Challa can say is maybe. It seems as if though it took out a good amount of the Xenomorphs, but not the queen. And the thing is, as T'Challa says, he's like, there's still too many of them left, and there's no stopping that thing. Have everyone fall back, Azari. We're leaving now. So in this moment here, Azari starts telling everybody to retreat. And then he's also asking Manifold at the same time if they can create a portal for him. But before he could even finish that sentence, T'Challa says to Azari, he's like, my prince behind you. And when they look behind them, there's this big, massive, towering looking Xenomorph. But before we can see exactly who that is, we get a flashback to yesterday. And this is where we see Miles and Iron Man, where they were in a battle with the Xenomorphs. And he mentions over Iron Man does here to Miles, he's like, Manifold's signature is in the distance. I think Carol got away. We should probably follow her lead, Spider-Man. But as they try to get out of the battle here, what happens is that they once again begin to get overwhelmed. And unfortunately, this time, what happens is that Iron Man, he gets stabbed right in the back through his front. So when Miles goes to hover over him to see what the damage was, he realizes that it's way too late. And before he even says anything, Iron Man's like, I've got onboard diagnostics, my guy. You don't need to tell me. I know how bad it is. And then he tells Miles, he's like, I'm not going to make it. Do what you need to do. But Miles is like, what exactly do you mean? Which is when Tony lets him know, he's like, I wasn't talking to you. Do you know? And that is when Venom responds and says, yes. Because remember now, back in issue 1, Venom, to save Miles and everybody basically, had bonded with one of the face huggers. So what Venom does here is that he surges himself forward, driving himself through Tony Stark's body, putting down the xeno-infected host before the creature can fully form or spread. So when we cut over to the present here, we see Miles again, but now we see that the Venom symbiote has transformed, having fully integrated the Xenomorph DNA from the encounter and has now reshaped itself into this like massively hulked out alpha style Venom Xenomorph hybrid. And this is where the tides begin to turn here for the Avengers. Now Azari, he's like, yo, this is too late. It don't matter what you do at this point. They're on us. And Azari tells him, he's like, it's the big one. That was the problem. Nothing that they've done could stop it. It's carrying mutant genes and cutting right through us. So then Venom is like, hold on, the red one you talking about? Let us try. So when the red one, as Venom affectionately called it, jumps out after them, here comes Venom to intercept. And Venom gets him on the ground. And then when he was about to try to put in here his finishing blow, what happens again? He teleports right behind Venom and then stabs him right through his stomach. And for a moment here, it looks like Xenomorph is down for the count. But then this is when the Venom symbiote pulls something wild and essentially begins to start consuming the red Xenomorph itself. And then in like one fell swoop, just like completely rips the red Xenomorph apart and essentially what looks like absorbs the genetic traits. And it's in that moment when the other Xenomorphs that are there, they stop attacking as they obey their new leader. And Emma confirms that she's like alpha of the species. That's certainly one way to sort things out. So then Miles is like, hold on, so what now? And I gotta say though, my one thing right here that bothers me a little bit is that I would have liked to have seen what other abilities the red Xenomorph would have been able to use here. That would have made this a little bit more exciting. But nevertheless, because we get this flash forward here that says 1 month later, and here's where we see T'Challa with all the rest of his crew, including the new alpha of the Xenomorphs here, Venom, just cocking back with his foot up on the table. And T'Challa says, he's like, all of our dreams have ended. We are awake, and all we have left is a barren, broken universe where no new thing can grow. This was their doing. Gods who regretted what they had made and thought they could erase us simply because they frowned on their creation. And somehow, worse than man's creation, whose hate has driven them mad, full with unholy purpose. And now we find ourselves here, hovering over a black hole, right where the whole thing started. But then Wolverine says, it's like, it's a sad story, no doubt, but it doesn't really answer the question. As T'Challa says, he's like, perhaps the point is best left for others to make. And this is when he plays a recording here from Tony Stark that says, I am Tony Stark, and these are my final words. As I record this, I am dying, but also have death growing inside of me. It's strange because I've been obsessed for so long with plans of survival that I never allowed myself to think about my end. And facing it now, if I'm being honest, there is some relief in knowing that I denied death's embrace for this long. I spent my life building things, making things, creating. I suppose in a way that makes me the antithesis of what we face. Some vile thing that lives to infect, consume, and destroy everything we are and everything we have made. All that humankind seeks to leave behind made ash in the mouth of an alien parasite. I have died fighting that, and instead of surrendering to hopelessness and defeat, I hope that you will too. Seek it out, stand against it, in other times, in other universes. Avenge all of our fallen brothers and sisters. Avenge all of our fallen worlds. And if you don't mind it too much, avenge me. So what do you think here of the conclusion of the series? I know a lot of people are just like, how in the world are these heroes being defeated by these Xenomorphs in the first place? Well, I think we got a little bit more of an explanation. I don't know if it's a satisfying one for everyone, but personally, I thought the story was good from beginning to end. Like I said, I am a little bit disappointed here that we didn't get to see the Red Queen, the Red Xenomorph here, do more just based on what we knew that Mr. Sinister had done with the other mutants' DNA. That part of it is very disappointing to me. What do you think? Before we head out, we definitely want to say thank you here. If you've been enjoying our content as well and you want to help us keep going, you can become a member here of the Keepin' It Comic YouTube channel by becoming a channel member. Alternatively, you can also join our Patreon as well. That's another way that you can support us too. Every bit of it helps to keep us bringing you these weekly drops. Leave a like on this video here for the YouTube algorithm. Hit that subscribe button as well if you're brand new to the channel. And thank you to all of our current channel members and Patreon members as well. Thor's biggest fan, Synchro, Jamie, we appreciate y'all. And as always, thank you so much for watching and kicking it with Keepin' It Comic. Bye.